Hello YouTube, this is English Shooting and this is a video on why I chose the Smith & Wesson M&P 15-22 rifle. As you may know, there are a large variety of different sporting 2.2 semi-automatic rifles out there, and it can be quite difficult to pick between them and decide on a rifle. This is the experience that I had. I spent a long time looking at reviews and researching each rifle to make sure that I pick the best choice for myself. Now, in terms of price, there's quite a huge variation. You have rifles as cheap as £550 and then they can go up to about £2,000. So I would say the first variable you want to decide on is your price bracket. For me, my price bracket was going to be in the lower range. I didn't want to spend too much on a rifle that I was going to use really as a bit of fun. I wasn't going to use it in competition, it was purely going to be recreational. So I wanted to spend anywhere between £500 to £700. For me, that narrowed it down to just a handful of rifles, and these included the Colt M4, the H&K 416, the H&K M&P 5, and the GSG M&P 5, and the Smith & Wesson 15-22. There's also the Sig Sauer 5.22 as well. Now, within that bracket, the two rifles that I was tossed up between were the 15-22 and the 416. I was lent towards those two rifles mainly because they offered me what I wanted. They both had quad rails and they both had the more standard AR-15 construction. I eliminated the Sig 5.22 mainly because to have a quad rail and get the SWAT version, it would have been around £850, and for me that was way more than what I actually wanted to spend. I eliminated the Colt M4 mainly because of the reviews and my experience of handling it in the club. There were numerous misfires, it was very fussy with ammunition, and we had already had it repaired once because of an internal fault. So I knew the quality of that rifle wasn't the best. And then I eliminated the MP5s because they didn't offer what I wanted. They didn't have the quad rail, and if I wanted to mount anything on them, I would have to get extra brackets, and it would just be a lot more hassle to get the rifle to what I wanted. So this led me to the H&K 416 and the Smith & Wesson 15-22. Now, I was at one point actually lent far more towards the 416, the H&K 416, because for me it felt and looked more like the real thing. And picking them up in the shop, it just didn't feel right that the 15-22 was plastic. It didn't make it feel very much like a toy. But I did a lot of research and found that the rifles made by Umarex and Walther, which are the Colt M4 and the H&K MP5 and 416, the internals of them are a modular design, and they are a complete separate unit within the rifle. This makes them incredibly hard to work on, and in a lot of circumstances any work that you need to do on them actually voids your warranty. So maintenance is limited in that respect, and also trying to strip down either of the rifles takes a lot longer. With the 15-22 it's a lot easier. If you look at my other video, the review of the 15-22, you'll see how easy and how quick it is. Although I wanted something that really looked the part and really felt the part, I wanted something that operated like the real thing. And the Umarex and Walther made rifles didn't really offer this. You couldn't really see what was going on inside them, they just look nice. And things like having the bolt catch release is solid, it doesn't actually work, it's purely just there for show. So although it does maintain the real look of it, it just doesn't, you're disappointed, someone plays with it and it doesn't actually move. It's a letdown in that respect. And also, although the 15-22 is a polymer construction, which I didn't like, it's a solid rifle. There's nothing that rattles on it. It's solid, it feels very well made. Picking up the Colt M4, it's wobbly, there's bits that rattle on it, and it just, although it was metal and felt heavier and sturdier because it was metal, it didn't actually feel as well built as the 1522. Again, another reason why I shied away from them. As I said, the 416 was at one point my preference, but after really kind of getting to grips and seeing the operation of the 1522, that was the reason for my choice. If you were to take price out of it, you open yourself up to a large range of very high quality rifles. Raven, the Lantac Raven, the CMMG rifles, and also the Southern Gun Company V22. Now, those three rifles, I will put my hands up and admit, are actually far better than the other, what you would call clones. They are purpose built 2.2 long rifle AR-15 platforms, even in the sense that you can actually interchange the uppers and lowers with a larger caliber AR-15 rifle. But for me, the price of them is what put me completely off. The cheapest one, the Southern Gun Company's V22, they start at about £900. So once you've bought your case for it, your extra magazine, and all that, you're looking over £1,000 easily. And for me, that was just a bit too much. The other two that I would swap my 1522, the Lantac Raven and the CMMG, those I would swap my rifle for. But the problem is, again, the price. Particularly the Raven, it starts at over £1,000, and I've configured mine before and kind of built my perfect rifle, and you're looking over £1,500 easily. Most people can spend £1,700–800 upwards on the rifle. For me, that was a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a rifle that I was just going to use for recreational use. Now, again, I would have one, I just wouldn't be able to justify that much for one. The CMMG, again, comes back closer to the Southern Gun Company, but it still starts at over £1,000, and you know it's going to be £400–500 more than the 1522. So, kind of taking all that into consideration, I feel for the money, the 1522 ticks all those boxes, and it's a balance between quality of rifle and price. So, out of the lower range of rifles, the 1522 is actually the only purpose-built 2.2 LR rifle. The rest are purely clones of bigger caliber versions, and that goes back to the modular trigger units. Is they've purely set out for these rifles to look like the bigger versions instead of actually functioning like the bigger versions. So you have a lot of aesthetics but no real kind of substance to the rifle. The 1522 was set out from the start to be a 2.2 long rifle AR-15. That means that all the internals were specifically designed for this rifle and for a 22 caliber. Because it is a purpose-built 2.2 platform, I feel it can actually compete with the higher end rifles. Although again, I will admit the higher end rifles are far better, I feel that the Smith & Wesson actually has the same level of functionality as the higher end rifles. It has the exact same features but at nearly half the price. Now, I feel the reduction in cost comes from the fact that the higher end rifles are all milled metal. Milling metal takes a lot more time and a lot more cost than making polymer, and this is where the money's saved. The Smith & Wesson is an all polymer construction, and polymer is cheaper and easier to work with. At the end of the day, I'm going to be having exactly the same amount of fun with the Smith & Wesson or a higher end rifle. When I'm emptying a magazine down range, I'm not really worried about whether it's a polymer or metal rifle. What I'm worried about is how the rifle functions. Is it functioning correctly? Is it reliable? And am I going to consistently be able to empty a magazine with no faults? And the Smith & Wesson does this. It does it time and time again. I've emptied many thousands of rounds through that rifle, and it's been pretty much faultless. It is for reliability, functionality and price of the Smith & Wesson 1522 that I chose it. I believe it is, for the money, the best rifle out there. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it gives you a bit more information about the semi-automatic sporting rifles that are out there, and I hope it helps in making your decision.